Welcome to Mastering the Numbers, your go-to podcast for a deep dive into the world of business and entrepreneurship. I'm your host, Joe Mallo. Join me as I sit down with successful business owners to uncover their journeys, learnings, successes, and future plans. From market trends to personal stories of triumph, Mastering the Numbers delivers invaluable insights to fuel your own entrepreneurial spirit. So grab a seat and get ready to be inspired.
All right, welcome everybody out there listening. This is Mastering the Numbers. I am Joe Mallo with Elite Edge Consulting Group. We are powered by Focal Point Business and Executive Coaching. My guest today is Geoff Hoff. He's a financial advisor with Capital Planners. Welcome, Geoff. Thanks for being a part of the podcast today.
Thank you, Joe. Appreciate the time to be with you.
Yeah, absolutely. Geoff, tell us a little bit about your practice with Capital Planners. Fill everybody in.
So, Capital Planners, we are an independent wealth management firm. I've been here about 15 years from now, and we work with a wide range of individuals, families, and business owners on pretty much everything wealth management and financial related. So, we are a protection first firm, which means we help people identify and risks that may be to, either their life or their business, and then take them through whatever their financial objectives are, whether that's paying for college, retirement, buying a new house, kind of all things related.
Great. So are you helping people out with their investments? Are you helping out with insurance, everything?
Correct. Yep.
So
Yeah.
comprehensive.
Comprehensive. And, if it's a function of, we don't do taxes, but certainly, we recommend qualified CPAs and tax preparers and things like that. And, but we want to be that go-to for a client's financial world, to where if we can help, great, or if there's a better professional out there for a specific thing, then we can make that introduction as well.
All right, great. Well, part of the podcast is helping everybody understand a little bit better about the growth of businesses. And so what prompted you to get started in the financial services industry and start your own business?
So it was really by accident and a function of timing. I graduated from Ohio University in 2008. And for the last year of school, I was really focused on becoming an investment banker. I wanted to go that route, or potentially into private equity. And really that was kind of where I saw myself going. And then the financial crisis happened, and the position that I had secured, as well as that company, eventually went away. So I was scrambling around. I'm interviewing everywhere, and I interviewed with what's now a competitor firm of ours, and liked the idea of being in the business of helping people. And so I started looking more into it, and luck had it that I ran into a girl that I went to grade school with. And, hey, what are you doing now? Great. Oh, you should check us out. And here I am almost 15 years later. I couldn't imagine doing anything else. It was, this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And I love the opportunity to help people. Our setup here, kind of the motto of our firm is, you're in business for yourself, not by yourself. So I have that freedom of entrepreneurship, and growing my own practice, but I'm not alone doing it. I have great resources, mentors, sharing of things like expenses and stuff. So it really turned out to be a great setup, and a truly enjoyable career.
That's great. So you have a strong support system behind
Correct. Yeah, which I think is necessary for all businesses. It just looks a little differently depending upon industry and how we're at.
I think that's great, Jim. Myself, being around the financial services for the last 28 years, not every firm out there has that strong support system behind them. So that's great that you have it.
Yeah.
So I agree, it's important. So what have been some of the biggest challenges that you've had to overcome over the last 15 years being in the financial industry?
So, always a challenge is, acquiring clients and getting those introductions, and kind of making it through. So my industry specifically, there's hesitation in the market sometimes, right? To meet with an advisor for various reasons. So that's a big challenge. I think the other big challenge is, you know, being my practice, I have to hold myself accountable, right? And sometimes that's easier, and sometimes that's harder than you could imagine, right? So there's, being your own boss sounds great on paper, but when it's actually, put into practice on a daily basis, it it can be a grind on yourself. Hard to fire yourself.
It's really hard. Well, that kind of goes into the next question, which is what are some common misconceptions about running your own business?
So I would say that the biggest one in my mind is that it's easy, right? That it's, oh, you don't have to be at a certain place at a certain time, and you don't have a manager breathing down your throat and all. And it's like, okay, those things could be challenges for some of us, but that doesn't make it any easier when you're running your own business, right? I think it's way harder, regardless of industry, than anybody will ever tell you, and it's more expensive than anybody will ever tell you. You always hear about success stories, right? But you never hear about all the challenges, or rarely you hear about all the challenges that new entrepreneurs and new businesses are going through, because they're not that success yet.
Right.
So I think that's the misconception is, that it's easy, it won't cost that much money, and you'll just be able to do whatever you want every day of the week, and life is great.
Right. Yeah, you certainly hear you hear about the success stories, but you don't necessarily hear about all the turnover and the failure. So
Yeah, and even the successes that, you hear about their path to success, but then there's challenges there, but not everybody ends up successful, right?
right,
And
for
I
sure.
think especially for other businesses and entrepreneurs out there, you gotta go through that to get there, right? It's not a lottery ticket. It's hard work.
It is for sure. I can vouch for you on that one. So how do you with all the challenges over the course of the 15 years that pop up, how do you keep yourself motivated and focused?
So I think, having things that, objectives and goals, some people might qualify them, but it's kind of like, what do I want for my life? And sometimes, you need to take a step back and remind, what are you working towards? Right? Is it a new house? Is it more vacations? Right? More time to play golf, things like that, right? So, I think it's important to always kind of have well, why am I doing this? Right? Like, I like helping people, I like having a business, I like earning money, but why? Right? And for me, it's, those things where, I want to have maybe a vacation home. I want to have more time with my family. I want to play more golf. Right? So,
Yeah,
it's like, okay, that's when you're still working at 10 p.m. at night, it's like, okay, why am I doing this? Right? And it's like, yeah, because there's things that I want to have in the future.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and I know we were talking about it a little bit earlier before we started the podcast. Golf is one of those things we're trying to free up time for,
Right.
both of us. So the financial service industry, the last 28 years that I've been in it, continues to innovate. So how do you remain innovative in your practice?
So a few things. One, I think that, and this isn't specific to financial services, but any business, where you have to be open to change and have flexibility, be able to adapt, right? So you kind of have to have that mindset first of, the way that we did it 10 years ago is not the way we're going to do it in 10 years. There may be some elements, but it's constantly evolving. And I think that's true of all industries. Personally, I think having people that are in similar industries. So I have friends that are, technically competitors with different firms, and, talking to them, finding out what they're doing, what they have going on, as well as internal people that are colleagues and or mentors. And, what do they have going on? What are they doing to keep up? Obviously, technology is a big piece of it. And technology makes a lot of our lives easier in a lot of ways, but that also presents other challenges, right? And how can we overcome those challenges? We're a people business, right? And while we can use technology to help aid, ultimately our profession in this industry is about helping people. And I don't see us being replaced by machines or anything like
Right.
that.
Right. I don't either. Have you ever, in over the course of the last 15 years, have you ever put together a type of study group with colleagues or acquaintances from the industry to get together a couple times a year to help each other?
Yeah, great question. So I've been a part of a number of different study groups, and that's another thing that's kind of evolved over time where, it's been everything from, a couple people from some of our different offices. So we're all part of the same firm, the same culture. We get together, but then also having some of those outside people that are with other ones or other firms, meaning or other professionals, right? So can we get together with attorneys, specifically estate planning attorneys and business attorneys and accountants and other professionals that are dealing with our same clients, but from a different perspective and, gain some knowledge there. So I'm a big believer in study groups, but also I don't think you ever want to stay part of the same one for too long. Sometimes it's good to branch out and try new ones, different people, and then maybe go back to the other ones. So yeah, they're huge, especially for new people getting into the business.
Yeah.
You kind of want to have that level of people on your level and people that are above you that have experienced what you have and started to gain some success.
Right. So constantly looking for fresh ideas.
Correct. Yeah. And even if it's just to eliminate them as that's not an idea for me or my practice or my clients, you should always hear them out.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So let's talk about work-life balance. Probably one of the most challenging things that I've dealt with in my career anyways. How do you personally try to maintain a work-life balance, if at all?
So I do try to maintain it. I think, kind of reflecting on this a little bit is one, balance does not mean 50-50. And balance some days or some weeks may be 90-10. It may be 60-40, right? It can be a varying number. And that's where we were talking about golf earlier, right? Where, in the summertime, we want to, at least here in Northeast Ohio, that's more time for golf. So maybe the balance is a little shifted towards that, but we got to make up for it in the winter, right?
Right.
The hours have to come from somewhere, and there's only so many of them, and family's important, right? I mean, that's a big why for a lot of us of what we're doing, right? So it's not 50-50 and it's never 100-0,
Right.
but you kind of got to make that time. Before we got online here, you made a great one that I love too, is like you block out time on your calendar where that's it. It's either, family or personal life, and that's the cutoff,
Yeah.
right?
You have to
So
try your hard. You have to try your hardest to find some. But you're right. It's never 100 to 0.
right. And it's not going to be the same, at least in mine, and I expect in most industry, it's not the same every week or every month or anything like that, right? Some weeks is great. We knocked everything out in 40 or 50 hours, and some weeks it's a lot more. And some weeks it's, listen, I need to unplug for, a whole day here and know that I'm going to work double tomorrow.
Right. Right. That's great. Great advice. Great advice. So can you offer us a little bit of a glimpse into the future for your practice? Where you see things going?
Yeah. So being here, what I'll call maybe nearing the first third or so of what I view my career as and my business trajectory. What I see happening is working with more business owners, right? So right now, and when I first started out, a majority of my clients were where individuals and families, and over time, I've got to know a lot of business owners and have begun working with them on a regular basis, and I enjoy that aspect of it. So definitely, I'll never not work with, individuals and families, but getting into that business marketing, growing that part of my practice is a big focus. And just recently, I took on a protege, a young person that's trying to get started in the business. So mentoring him and potentially others is another big part that I see as part of the future.
Right. Well, what challenges do you see lying ahead for the financial services industry?
So I think consolidation is a big one, right? That throughout my career, I've seen that from both sides, right? And what I mean by consolidation is, there seems to be a lot of firms that are gobbling up smaller firms, and now we're all part of this. And, that's where kind of the people part plays in it, right? And, we only have so much capacity, but we have needs, right? So I think that there's always going to be that challenge of consolidation, like we talked about earlier, competing with technology, right? Where people think that they can get what we provide from some online service or maybe AI or something, and they're not even looking at us as a potential fit. So, there's always that challenge. Keeping up with everything, right? We talked about that too, that you got to stay on top of, be willing to adapt and change as new information comes in. We want to get it what's best for our clients at the moment and in the future, right? And having flexibility to do that.
Right. Great. I appreciate that. So final question. What advice would you offer to an aspiring business owner who, maybe wants to get into the financial advising industry or just wants to start a business of their own? What kind of advice would you give them?
Be all in, right? So this is, I've seen a lot of people over my 15 years here, and both in my industry and in others where, they're kind of, okay, I have a part-time business. Like, if you're not all in, you'll never reach the level of success. Even if you reach some level of success, it'll never be what it could be if you're not 100% committed to any business, whether it's financial services or, another industry. And so I think that's another thing. And then have mentors, seek out mentors, and be open to apprenticeship. I can't remember the author, but a good book I read, Robert Greene, I think it was, a big thing he talks about is, sometimes you got to work for free or for very little money to gain the knowledge and experience that it takes to earn more and be a better, whatever the profession is, in my case, financial advisor.
I think that's multiple layers of wise advice. Listen, Geoff, I really appreciate you being a part of the podcast. It was great having you on. Great listening to how you made it from a startup business owner as a financial advisor to a successful advisor. If somebody wants to get a hold of you and talk to you about working with you or picking your brain, how can they get a hold of you?
Yeah. Well, thank you, Joe, for the opportunity. I think this is an awesome thing you're doing for, a lot of businesses out there and for people that are looking for some of that, advice and people. So the best way to get a hold of me by phone, 216-360-7400. I'm on LinkedIn. I can't respond to messages on there, but if you reach out, I will email you. My email is ghoff, Hoff, at capitalplanners.com. That's Capital Planners all spelled out. So phone, email, or send me a note on LinkedIn. And again, I will email you back so we can stay in compliance. But yeah, please feel free to reach out, and appreciate the opportunity.
All right, Geoff, thanks again. And thanks everybody for being a part of the podcast, Mastering the Numbers. We'll catch you again on another episode. Take care. Have a good evening.
You've just experienced another insightful episode of Mastering the Numbers. We hope you enjoyed the journey and gained valuable insights to fuel your financial success. Don't forget to subscribe to Mastering the Numbers on your favorite podcast platform to never miss an episode, and be sure to leave us a review to let us know how we're doing. Until next time, keep pushing forward and let your entrepreneurial spirit soar. Thank you for listening.